Good morning, everybody. How we doing today? I'm not gonna be that person that's like, sorry I didn't come on yesterday. I'm a human being, as you guys all know by this point, and I needed a day. So I'm feeling a little bit better today. I was feeling just like off yesterday. I started the day with a stupid appointment. I had to go to the doctor's office at 8 in the morning on my day off for literally 3 minutes for them to sign off on a prescription, which I don't understand why they couldn't do that over the phone. But anywho, I'm going to talk about this today with the question from Jessica here in regards to food and kind of binging and things like that. But one of the things that I'm currently dealing with right now is the psychological withdrawals of THC. And this is something I've heard from a lot of different sources where this is why THC is such a hard drug to remove from your life. Because I'm obviously way past the physical withdrawals, but now it's the psychological withdrawals. And because it was something that was a part of my routine for so many years, being on day 35 today, it's just like, you're just kind of in this constant state of agitation with yourself, with people, with everything, where it's almost like, why aren't I better yet? Like, why do I still have these moments of just irritation, just with like little things? It's just very frustrating. So to be honest, this last little bit has been a bit of a struggle. Even Sunday and Monday evening, I was actually looking at booking a trip to Canmore. And how I'm going to tie this in with my message today was the fact that I knew that I could not. Not from a financial standpoint or anything like that, but even as I started looking at condos in Canmore for a couple of days, I was then starting to justify why I could smoke when I went to Canmore. And I don't want to use the triggering, but maybe it's just an environmental thing or because I've always done it, and just vacations alone. Like vacations for me throughout my entire 20s have been debauchery, and I just go and get as mucked up as I possibly can. Years previously, it was alcohol and weed, then it was just weed, and every vacation I've gone on since getting alcohol free, it's like an excuse to smoke my face off. So I had to really sit with myself these last couple days here and just understand, like, I don't have enough distance from THC yet to actually book a trip like that, because I know that I'm going to use, and I don't want to. It sucks because I'd love to go to the mountains, and there was some really good deals on some very nice condos, and I just can't because I know I'm going to. So it kind of sucks, but I'm proud of myself for sitting with it, and that's going to be kind of my message today, is just actually sitting with it and sitting with the discomfort and sitting with those urges and what feelings arise from those urges and those impulses when they do come up, and just knowing that there's certain barriers that you have to put in place to keep yourself safe in a certain way.
Shall not pass!
So that's where we're at today. I'm gonna bust out a bunch of check-ins before going in for a client at 10:30, and then my homie Khaled is coming in for a workout today, so I'm gonna do just like a douche chest arms day with him today. He got a kneecap tattooed yesterday, so we're not gonna be doing any legs, but yeah, and then come home, talk more on the binging side of things. So we're going to be doing some more nutritional stuff today, and just in ways to set yourself up for success so that we avoid binging. So I'll break that down, the importance of fiber, protein, but in more detail, and sort of the spacing out of your meals throughout the day as well. Overall, proud of myself for not giving in to the urges these last couple of days and just impulsively booking a trip just to kind of satisfy that urge, and then the justification that comes with that urge. So yeah, we're back with my oatmeal. And as always, when I eat, I get ranty. Not even ranty. I just want to express the importance of being prepared. I know people hate this saying, but like, fail to plan, plan to fail. I actually made a mistake. We're volunteering all weekend for that event I was telling you about with Fits at Ninja. I think I told you about that. Pretty sure. Anyways, I thought it was Friday, Saturday that I was doing it. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So one thing that I was very happy with myself yesterday was I did do my meal prep. I prepped some burrito bowls, because this is a perfect example with having a chaotic week, chaotic schedule. If you don't prep your food beforehand, you're probably gonna make worse choices. You're gonna have to eat out. You're gonna have to buy things that are more processed that you can just quickly throw together. So I'm even happier that I prepped my food yesterday, because I didn't even think that I had that set up tonight for the Fits at Nationals. So yeah, it's gonna be a chaotic day, which I thought I was done at 6:30. I could come home and edit the vlog. Turns out I'm probably gonna have the vlog edited and posted before I go back for my client at 5:30, because we had to be at the expo center for 7:30 to set up. I have no idea how long it's gonna take, so I don't really wanna plan to be editing and posting at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night tonight. So yeah, just on here to express the importance of making sure you plan your shit out and stay on top of it. If you wanna make good choices when it comes to nutrition, prepping and planning makes your life so much easier.
You ready? Oh, sneakies. Yeah, pretty girl. Get that bird. Get it loose. Hey, we'll pass off the goods.
A great little chest and shoulder workout with Mr. Khaled. It's always good to see that guy. Me and him go way back. Fun fact, we actually went to China together. Post a little picture here for that. It's good to get a little pump in with him. We got some content planned in the future. He does private dinner events and everything, which is super dope. So I'm gonna bring him onto the channel and he's gonna teach you guys some things in the new year about just some simple kind of cooking tricks and hacks and things like that. So stay tuned for that in the new year. But I'm gonna take Luce out to the park here, run her out a little bit since it's gonna be a hectic afternoon of editing and then getting everything ready for that event tonight. So it's gonna be an early one tonight. I think I mentioned that earlier, but either way, starting to feel really good in the gym again, which is very nice. After about 6 weeks, we're feeling back to our normal selves for the gym.
Can I see the ball, please? Can I see it?
We're gonna do a little breakdown this one. Now, obviously, anything in regards to binge eating is very layered. Eating disorders in general are a very tough one to work through because oftentimes there's something else behind the emotional eating, binge eating, whatever it may be. Typically, and I've heard this before, that a lot of eating disorders in general are typically attached to a different type of addiction. Now, I know Jessica's sober, so obviously it's not going to be something that's fueled by weed, but that was something that really fueled a lot of my binge eating in the past. Here's the question here. So question, I struggle with feeling full after meals, even if I eat an entire big meal or like a shit meal of hamburger helper with a pound of ground beef. I'm nauseous, hungry 20 minutes, an hour later, which then leads to binge eating, especially at night. Any tips on how to feel full more, or what types of food would help or maybe aren't helping? So, great question. There's a lot of nuance to this. One of the things that I've found helpful with clients in the past who struggle with binge eating especially is meal frequency. Oftentimes, and I was notorious for this when I was binge eating, and my binge eating was mostly driven by weed consumption and massive insecurities around my body. I had essentially figured out that if I didn't eat all day, I could actually get away with eating pizza and essentially shit food on a nightly basis, so I could get this massive dopamine hit whilst keeping my body relatively within the size and shape that I wanted it to be. Now, a big thing that has helped since cutting out weed completely is meal frequency. So oftentimes, if you're eating every 3 to 4 hours throughout the day, you're likely going to feel way less desire to go binge at night. And this isn't for everybody, but this, for myself personally and clients that I've worked with in the past, has helped immensely. Because more often than not, if we aren't eating all day long, and then even if we have a pound of ground beef or we have an entire box of hamburger helper, you haven't really satisfied the actual need of eating enough throughout the day. So even if we eat like 2,000 to 3,000 calories in one sitting, mentally we still crave and we still desire more food. Even if we don't actually desire more food, we feel like we do. How I wanted to tie this in with my message this morning was actually sitting with it. When you say you feel nauseous hungry, you know, 20 minutes afterwards, is that you feel nauseous hungry because you just ate a pound of ground beef and hamburger helper? Or do you feel nauseous because you just ate a pound of ground beef and hamburger helper? Because if we were to take that same serving size, eat that, let's say over 3 meals throughout the day, there's a great chance you'd feel way more satiated as the evening came around and you have way less desire to binge eat. And that's just one example. Another thing to look at too, and this is actually really interesting after doing that sodium research on Tuesday, was when we have super highly processed foods such as Hamburger Helper, when we have a surplus of salt, that actually in and of itself can create cravings of feeling like you're hungrier than you actually are. So my suggestion would be to look at your food consumption throughout the day and your sodium consumption throughout the day. Because if we're eating lean ground beef with side of asparagus and or frozen vegetables keep costs down, and like baked potatoes, the satiety levels of those food is going to be way higher than having something that's super highly processed that also contains a boatload of sodium, because those two combined together are what's going to create this feeling of hyperpalatability, which is going to lead to overconsumption. That was the big underlying message of my sodium breakdown on Tuesday, was when we eat hyper processed foods, they're loaded with sodium. So is it that sodium is the devil, or is it the fact that consuming too many calories is actually the devil? It's the excess of calories that is going to cause a lot of other issues. And it's the excess of calories that's going to cause us to gain weight. And when we eat hyperpalatable foods, the likelihood of us over-consuming our calories goes up immensely. What I'd like you to work on is trying to consider eating more frequently throughout the day and having more fiber and more protein throughout the day. Because again, if we took that same serving size and just had that either 2 or 3 meals throughout the day, chances are you'd be way less likely to overconsume in the evening. And again, chances are, obviously, I'd rather you be eating a variety of fruits and vegetables and multigrains and lentils and things like that throughout the day in conjunction with that Hamburger Helper instead of having just the Hamburger Helper itself. Just because this is why it's so easy to overconsume McDonald's. Because if I go get a Big Mac meal and that's 1,200 calories, an hour and a half to 2 hours later, I'm hungry again, because it's hyperpalatable, meaning that our body digests it very fast, because it doesn't take much to break it down. That's why it's so easy to overconsume those calories. Another thing that I've heard before, and this is actually came from a friend of mine who's a dietitian, was slowing down when you eat. So if you haven't eaten all day, I suggest you slow the F down when you eat that Hamburger Helper. Because if you were to consume that Hamburger Helper within a 15 to 20 minute time frame, your hunger cues in your brain haven't actually had time to respond to the food hitting your gut yet. This is where it's important to slow down and be more mindful with the food itself. Because if you were to take that same caloric intake, spread that out over 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe even 60 minutes, there's a good chance you're probably not even going to finish that entire portion, because you're going to know that you're full before you actually finish it. If we haven't eaten all day, or even if we have eaten all day, and then we stuff back like 1,500 to 2,000 calories in a short period of time, by the time it hits our gut, like we don't even know, are we full? We don't even know yet, because we've just put in 1,500 calories. Like we should be full, whether it's hyperpalatable or not. But if we consume it so fast, that it's oftentimes that our brain just hasn't connected to the fact that, hey, like you're full, like stop eating. The one thing I suggest is trying to be more mindful when you're eating that food. So if you can, unless it's my YouTube that you're watching, try to alleviate some of the distractions. So try to not be scrolling mindlessly. Try not to be watching something totally mindless on TV. Try and be a little bit more attuned to what you are doing when you are consuming that food. That can really help for our brain to actually connect, like, hey, like you're not still hungry. Like you don't need to continue eating. And that's when we can push that plate away. And if we do feel hungry, an hour, 2 hours later, we can go back and finish that plate instead of consuming all of that Hamburger Helper and then 20 minutes later feeling like, oh God, I need more food. And how I wanted to tie this in with this morning's message was, if you are to consume that entire serving of Hamburger Helper with a pound of ground beef, I want you to sit with that feeling of feeling hungry, nauseous, because there's a good chance you're feeling nauseous from overconsumption, not nauseous from hunger. Now, it might be hard to distinguish the difference between the two right now, but if we sit with it for long enough, we may be able to actually differentiate, like, hey, is this, I'm so hungry that I'm nauseous? Or is it that I'm so bloated and so stuffed that I feel nauseous? One thing, this is where journal practices come in as well, is when you start to feel those feelings of nausea via, again, hunger or overconsumption, what are the feelings that come to mind when that happens? And that's where it's a really powerful tool to sit with a journal beside us while we eat food. And we can actually start to associate, which foods do I feel good eating? And then this way, it's a really good way to actually look at our diet in a little bit more sort of logical and constructive way where, hey, I know that if I consistently eat, use Hamburger Helper as an example, and I feel like shit, it's stop eating hamburger helper. Like clearly your body doesn't respond well to that. And that's where we can look at incorporating different types of food, whether it be potatoes, whether it be rice that you prepped on your own, whether it be just anything with like less sodium, whatever it may be. But if we continuously see on paper, like, hey, every time I eat this hamburger helper, I feel like shit. Eventually our brain's gonna be like, stop eating goddamn hamburger helper because it makes you feel like shit. So we'll start to associate those feelings with those foods, meaning that we're less likely to choose those foods. I hope you found that helpful. Please understand there's a ton of nuance to this, and disordered eating is very, very, very layered. This is just something that I'm talking about from my subjective experience between my own personal binge eating issues and clients that I've worked with in the past with their binge eating issues. So I hope you found that helpful. What a day. It's been just non-stop. We just got back from the gym. It's just shortly after 7, so I gotta record this and then hit post. Thankfully I did all the editing before heading back to the gym earlier, but just wanted to make sure that everything's all feng shui. Personal shout out to my homie, Rob G, who's been a big time supporter since day one. He celebrated 1 month of sobriety yesterday, which is friggin' dope. And yeah, just super proud of him. And again, thank you for the encouragement that you've shown me, Rob. And yeah, appreciate you, my friend. So I gotta wrap this up because we gotta go move a bunch of stuff for that Fitset event. I'm gonna do my best to vlog this weekend. I may not post daily just because truthfully, I don't really know what the next couple of days is gonna entail. I do have breath work on Sunday, so it's gonna be a chaotic next 72 hours. So I'll do my best to record as much as I can and post when and where I can. No promises for daily vlogs this weekend just because there's a lot going on right now. But as always, please like, subscribe, show some love, get in the comments section. Rob G was the only one who commented on the blood pressure one, and truthfully, I worked my ass off for that one. So if you could, go show it some love. And if you haven't, go get your goddamn blood pressure checked. If not, appreciate you anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. Day 35 in the books. I gotta go get a bunch of work done and get ready for that event this weekend. So peace out, folks. Have a good night.